I don't want to keep you too long, but tonight I want to talk to you guys about personalities and just kind of some things I've learned along the way. And I also did like over the weekend, I did some deep diving into like the color personalities. I've listened to trainings on the color personalities before, and I've always been very intrigued that like certain people will tick in certain ways. Like I love the Enneagram, I love all of that. And so I just kind of like I said, I just took a deep dive this weekend and I was just like, let me just like refresh my brain a little bit on each color personality, and then how can we break this down and simplify it. So tonight I'm going to go through all four colors. So I don't know if you know what color you are. If you do, drop it in the chat, but I am predominantly a yellow. My next highest color is a green. So you've got yellow, green, you've got blue and red. And we're gonna kind of like go over those a little bit tonight, but think of it kind of like a language, okay? And if you, because part of our business, almost all of our business is relationship building and building those connections with people, right? And so if you cannot speak somebody else's language, you're going to have a really hard time connecting with them. And so learning yourself is the very first most important thing that you can do, but then learning like how other people tick and how it's different from you and how you can appreciate their strengths and your blind spots and all the above to make the team like more cohesive as a whole, right? And so I wrote down here, I'm going to go off of my notes a lot tonight because I don't have these memorized by any means. But I wrote down your top two colors. So you're more or less a combination of your top two colors. And what I've learned is that your bottom two colors, like your top two colors are what you are mostly. Your bottom two colors are what you need to work on when it comes to talking to people, connecting with people. You have to be very intentional in those areas with those colors, okay? And you think of it kind of like rowing a boat. Like if you're constantly, like if I'm always rowing yellow, 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 I'm going to go into a daggum circle, right? I've got to kind of balance it out a little bit. So you want a little bit of yellow, a little bit of blue, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of green, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red, right? So I think it's a good way to analogy to kind of look at your business when you think about, okay, what are the different types of people that I'm going to be attracting to myself? Because you're like most of the time you attract kind of what you are, but sometimes you attract what you're not, and you attract different personalities. And I don't want you to get to a point in your business where you're like, how did we get here? Like, how did we attract each other? Like, I have no idea. I want you to be able to work cohesively together. I want us to be a very, very strong team. And so I'm going to break these down a little bit tonight. Um, and when it comes to speaking their language, one thing that Sean and I'll give you an example. We started doing this adventure challenge, I think is what it's called. We got it for like Christmas. And yes, I know it's almost June and we just did our first challenge. But anyways, the challenge that we did, it made us go through our five love languages. And so we had to take this quiz on the five love languages. And if you don't know what that is and you are in a relationship, go research it, do your little quiz, because it basically tells you what do you value in a relationship. They take the quiz on their phone and they say what they value in a relationship, and it gives you like your love language. Okay. And so for Sean, it is very much like spending time together, physical touch, like that sort of thing. Not so much like gift giving, right? For me, it's acts of service. Like when he does the dishes or he does the laundry or something like that, like I'm like, that is my love language. Like, and then quality time together is my second one. And so we took this quiz and we got to know each other a little bit more, and we put little sticky notes on our mirror, and we're like, okay, we're going to intentionally focus on this each day so that I'm speaking your language a little bit more and you're speaking my language a little bit more, and we're not always just your language and we're not always just my language. So no, we can come together stronger as a team. So kind of think of it that way. Hang on, here comes Karen. Think of it that way whenever you are thinking about the personalities in business, okay? You also need to know that you fluctuate. So while I might be a yellow, that I might have some days where I have a little bit more red tendency. I might have a little bit more blue tendency. We kind of like ebb and flow into these states, into these emotional states sometimes, where maybe we come out a little bit more red or we come out a little bit more green. Just be aware of it. So I'm going to break down yellow first, is where we're going to go. And yellow, what I want to break down for you guys is 3 things for each color. So the first thing I want to go over, what are the traits of each color? Do not feel like you have to write down or take any notes if you don't want to. I can certainly take little screenshots of these and put it into the chat later. So just listen and like take it all in for a minute if you want. But we're going to go over traits. We're going to go over blind spots for each color personality. And then we're going to go over how to coach this person. Like, what is their language? How do you speak to their hearts? Like, what is it that fires them up? How do you motivate these people depending on what color personality they are? Okay. So yellow, hi, I don't know. Is anybody else a yellow? I don't know. I have an idea of what colors you guys are, but I'm not 100% positive. So if you know your color, cool, drop it in the chat. If you don't, maybe add it to your homework and just say, you know what, I'm going to deep dive a little bit over the next week or so, and I'm going to figure out who I am, right? So there's free quizzes you can take online to kind of figure that out too. But traits of a yellow, they are very service oriented. They always put others first. Like they're the caregivers. They are the sometimes people pleasers. They are the people who are always doing for others before they do for themselves. They know how to serve others. They're very thoughtful. They're driven by community. Like they're very, what's the word? Externally driven. Like it's not typically like an ego place where they come from, where, they want to win or they, anything like that. It's, I want to see how I can help others. I want to see how I can help them grow. Like always putting others first before they do for themselves. They're very reliable, they're honest, and they are hard workers. They are what we call like the natural peacekeepers. And I'll give you an example. In our team, you're looking at Katie and you're looking at M, right? These are your natural peacekeepers. You're the ones who are just constantly like bringing you back to the vision and that sort of thing. And that personally is why I'm drawn to them, because they speak my love language, right? They speak my language. And two other things about yellows is they're not going to give you any excuses, because they don't tolerate it themselves. They always are the type that are like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to be resourceful. If there's not a way, I'm going to make a way, and I'm not going to complain about it. I'm going to figure it out and do it myself. I don't need no help. I can do it myself kind of mentality. But and they won't give up. They work very, very hard, but they also drown very easily. And those 2 traits right there that I just named are very similar for reds and for yellows. They are very much like the workhorse mentality, like I'm going to do whatever it takes. And they will silently drown a little bit because they won't ask for help. And so we're going to go into some blind spots here about yellows. And I have learned this personally. Like all of this rings so true. So when I get to your color, if you're just like, oh my God, that's me, please drop it in the comments. Okay. Because I was doing this research and putting together these notes for you guys, and I was just like, wow, like my God, how cool, like to just see people like just lay it all out on the line here. But blind spots for yellows, they have a hard time knowing like how to put themselves first, because they're so used to helping, they're so used to doing for others that they always tend to put themselves on the back burner. And when you take them out of their environment, let's say their work environment or their church, or you take them out of their environment, away from their kids or away from their family, they have a hard time really knowing like who they are and what they want in life. So these people, especially in our business, they might fumble a little bit on figuring out who they are, figuring out their vision, figuring out what they want, because they're so used to helping everybody else. And like I said, they will not ask for help. They will not be in your inbox asking you for help, because they are so used, and it's not out of an ego thing. It's not like the Reds will like play their cards close to their chest because they're like, I want to win, right? Like I'm not going to ask for help because it admits defeat and it makes me seem weak. That's like the red personality. We'll get into that. But yellows are very much like, I'm not going to ask for help. They don't really know how to ask for help. They're so conditioned to being the help, if that makes sense, that they really just don't know how, like, and that's just their nature. They're not going to do it. And so these are the people that you're going to have to kind of lean into, and you're going to have to kind of read those messages like, hey, maybe they're silent in the chat, or maybe they haven't posted on social media, especially if they're brand new in their first 2 weeks or so. You check in with them and you like touch on their feelings a little bit and see how they're feeling. let's see. They get frustrated easy because, like I said, they're a workhorse. They're working hard, but they get frustrated easily, as do reds, because they expect everybody else to be as hard worker as they are. So they might find themselves in a place where they're like, they feel like a unicorn, right? They're like, I'm such a hard worker. You know, I have this big vision for my business. Like, I'm doing all the things, and they get into this space where like, my team's not showing up. How come they don't want it as much as I do? Like, what's going on? Like, how come I didn't need a coach. I didn't need a mentor. Like, I just get up and I do it, and I just make sure that it happens, and I make sure that it works. Okay. That's the mentality of a yellow a little bit. We can kind of get into our mindset where we're like, you know what? Like, nobody has to wake me up and post and talk about my business. Nobody's got to tell me what to do. So like, why should I have to guide my team? Right. And it's a very destructive place to be. Harriet, I thought you were red. It's a very, I see you being red, yellow. Yes. But it's a very destructive place to be the one who's saying like, I'm doing all the things and I didn't need a mentor. Nobody has to hold my hand. So I'm not going to hold my team's hand. Right. So just be very careful with that. If you are a yellow, you cannot expect everybody to be like you. Same thing for a red. Sometimes they get into that mentality too, where they're like, I'm just getting it done. I'm just getting it done. Nobody's got to remind me about the Zooms. I don't need accountability. Like, I'm accountability for myself and my team. If they want it, they want it. If they're going to show up, they're going to show up. And if they need me, they know where to find me. Right. Like that mentality, it's not always going to serve you in your business, especially when you start working with different color personalities. And maybe you've got a yellow that went silent, and maybe they're having a really rough time in their life, you know, behind the scenes. And instead of your red personality, maybe they need you to like check in with them and say, hey, like, how are your kids? Like, how's Tristan? You know, like, talk like names, like make them feel like you actually care about them. You actually know them. You know what's going on behind the scenes with them. You know, kind of what they're going through. And sometimes you have to put business aside with these people and just kind of like talk heart to heart with them because we're very feelings. We're very emotional creatures. And we're very non-confrontational. Like, that's something that I just personally have learned, especially as a leader. I've seen it time and time over again. I've shot myself in the foot, especially with my career as a nurse, of not wanting to confront somebody, especially when it put me in a place where I was going to have to figure something out, or maybe I signed up for something that I knew that I couldn't actually fulfill the commitment. And I did it because I didn't want to argue with somebody because they were pressuring me and I just didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want it to be like this thing. And so I was just like, in my mind, I was like, I'm going to figure it out. Right. And so even in my leadership, I've had moments where maybe I see people struggling a little bit, and it's like, I don't want to tell them how to run their business. You know, I don't want to tell them, here, that maybe they could do a little bit better this way or do it that way. Like, I don't want them to feel like I'm coming at them in their business. So there's been times where I've had those moments with myself, and I don't like construct those people. Like, I don't give them that feedback because I've been so terrified of confrontation, if that makes sense. So that has been something that I've had to work through as a yellow leader. So if you find yourself yellow, just be very aware of that, because that's not fair. It's not fair to live in that mindset of, hey, I'm just going to avoid conflict at all costs. It's actually costing you the growth of your leaders, if you think about it that way. And so when you talk about blind spots in each color that we dive into tonight, when we talk about blind spots, these are areas of growth. These are areas, and no color, by the way, is like any better. Like, it's not like better if you're a yellow, like you're not going to be better in business if you're a red. They are all the same. Like, we are all needed in so many different ways. And it's actually having multiple colors on your team, which makes it your strongest, because what I'm weak at, maybe Harriet is good at, and what Harriet is weak at, maybe Karen is good at, right? It's the same concept in and throughout our business. I'm using my hands way too much, but how to coach yellows. I put, and this is something I'm actually going through right now, I put the greatest thing that they can do is self-development. Because like I said, they have a hard time kind of figuring out who they are, what they want, because they're so used to caring for everybody else. And so the best thing that they can do is self-development. With that being said, don't fall into the trap of just like consuming. We've talked about that before, but don't just consume and not actually do the work that's needed in your business. And so the greatest thing a yellow can do is the self-development. Key words to use with a yellow is saying things, like I said, remember, we're going back to our emotional, our emotional state, and we're saying things like, you're not alone, right? Whatever they're experiencing in their business, you're not alone. You have a team here to help you, right? And when it comes to hitting a goal or incentivizing them in any way, you're going to talk more of like let's say they were running for 4K, you're going to say, how many people can we help that's going to get you to 4K, right? Like, what does that mean? How many people can we help? Like, take it away from them. And when you can focus it on somebody else, that's how you're going to get your yellow to 4K, by talking about how they can lift somebody else up, because they are so driven, not by that internal fire, but they are driven by that external fire of service and helping others. These people are typically not here for the money. They're typically here for the community, or they're here for a bigger purpose. They're here for fulfillment. They're here for, creating more joy in their life, those sorts of things. They're not typically, not saying that they can't be, but they're not typically money hungry. That's not typically what drives these people. And so remember, when you get a yellow, you're gonna always revert back to feelings. Okay. That is how you speak to their heart. Let's see. They love ethical leaders. Okay. So they're very huge on integrity. This is why I quit the hospital, because my leader told me I could not tell my patient the truth. Done, gone. Like, I can't stand with that, right? And so yellows are huge on that. If you say you're going to do something, do it. I understand we're human. We're not perfect. There's going to be times we slip up, but like, make sure you've got your morals straight, and make sure that if you say you're going to be there for somebody, you be there for somebody, right? The tone in the conversation is everything. I run into this with Sean a lot. Okay. But whenever you're texting something, you can't always get the emotion behind it. And so he might be saying something so sweet and he's texting me and I'm like, what do you mean by that? Right? Like, I'm taking it a whole different way, because I'm used to him coming off like very red or very blue. And I didn't take it that way. But if you actually voice memo, these are the people you're going to want to voice memo for sure, because they can feel your emotion behind what you're saying. Let's see. Let's see. I think I actually put into the chat. I asked some of our leaders on our team. So I'm going to give you some examples. I'm going to be the example for yellow. I asked basically, what are some of your biggest breakthroughs on understanding how you tick as a leader? And for me, for yellow, I put my biggest breakthroughs have been acknowledging that I have to take care of myself, take time to take care of myself. I'm so used to serving others. I crave alone time, but my blind spot is avoiding conflict in areas that I know it will grow someone else. So I'm working through that with my leaders. And so that's yellow in a nutshell. So remember, emotionally driven, always speak to their emotion, bring them back to, how they can serve others. They're very like servant hearted. They work hard. They're not always going to ask you for help. So you have to kind of reach out to these people sometimes and just say, hey, how's it going? Like, how are you feeling? Greens, let's move on to greens. So green was my second highest color. I was kind of surprised by this, but then I also understand it a little bit when I start talking about blind spots in the greens, because I thought maybe my second color would be blue, because I don't know, I just see myself as being kind of fun, but maybe I'm not. Let's see. So greens are very task oriented. They're deep thinkers. They're very much a researcher. Like, they want to know all the details. These are the people that they want to know the comp plan, like the back of their hand. They want to know the ingredients. They want to know how it works. They want like all the numbers. Like, I had one girl who asked me, I didn't even realize it until she replied to my story when I said the other day, like, what color personality are you? She said she was a green. I went back to our conversation that we had a couple months prior, and she had asked me what my retention rate was in my business. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I see that you're a green now. Like, that makes total sense, because you asked me 3 months ago what the retention rate was. I don't speak retention rate because I speak vision. Like, it's just, I see it now. Right. But these are the people that want to know the details. They want the ins and outs. They're going to want, like, these are the people that go shopping all over the place in town to find the best deal. And then they go back to that one that one store, right? I'm so guilty of that sometimes. These are the people watchers. Like they're not typically, people drain them, like people's energy drains them a lot. And so they do like being alone. They're very deep in their thoughts. They're methodical. They're very like I said, they're deep thinkers, but like they want to know all their choices before they make a decision so that they can feel like they're making the best decision. They love researching it. They take their time. Let's see. They're very confident in their ability as well. So some blind spots for greens. So next time you get a conversation of a potential and they're like, what's in that vitamin? You're gonna be like, this girl's a green, okay? Give her the PDF, give her all the information you can give her, let her make that decision on her own. Okay, you don't have to try to convince anybody. The best thing that you can do for a green is give them the information, back off. Give them time. You don't rush these people because they want to take their time researching it. They will probably research things for like 4 months and then come back to you. This is just green. Okay, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing you did wrong in your conversation, but they just they take more time. So they can be sometimes self-focused. So a blind spot for a green, because when you have a green leader, they sometimes can be very like, this is how I'm going to get to my goal. This is how I get there. I'm going to strategize to the point where I'm getting myself from point 0 to 4K, that they are kind of like, their blind spot is, I'm not taking care of anybody else. So it's a little bit different from a yellow, but they have to learn to be a little bit more people focused. They're very much the perfectionist. They are the person that will not hit the live button until they feel like they've got all the words to say right. They've got everything written down. Like, don't surprise them with a Zoom because they need to prepare. They need time to write all their notes. Like, they don't want anything dropped on them last minute because they need time to process everything. Okay. So the best thing that you can do for the perfectionist is you need to just make sure that you're prioritizing like excellence, I guess, over perfectionism, and just kind of like bringing them back to like, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're going to get better as you go, kind of deal. But these are the people that you'll find like chasing the algorithm. They'll go and they'll be stuck on how to make my social media pretty, like presets one day. They're going to dive into the next social media training over here. They're going to sign up for this mastermind. They're going to want to do all these things to try to figure it all out before they take action in their business. And I've been very guilty of doing that many, many times because they feel like they have to have all the data, because in their mind, they're not credible if they don't have all the answers. Does that make sense? So how do you coach these people? Number one, I said, don't rush them. Don't put them on the spot. They need time to come up with their thoughts. They need time to process everything, to research things sometimes, explain their options. So if you've got somebody that comes to you and they're like, what are the ingredients in that capsule that make you come alive every morning? You're going to waste your time if somebody's directly coming to you with that question, going off of and saying, oh, these are my jumper cables. Like, they make me feel alive in 15 minutes. I didn't answer her question. Her question were, what are the ingredients in that pill that you put on your stories every single day, right? So my best thing is, let me get you the PDF, but you can kind of look at the ingredients. Let me know what you think. So I'm going to send her the PDF. I'm going to back off. That is how you talk to a green. And then maybe if they ghost you, give them some time and say, what'd you think about that PDF? Right? Explain their options, back off so that they can make their own decision. Don't insult their intelligence by looking over their shoulder. So let's say you bring on a green and they're in their VIP period. They want to do it their way, kind of. And so, yes, we kind of like hold their hand and we tell them, okay, we're going to go to guide 1, then we're going to go to guide 2. You let me know when you're done with guide 1. You let me know when you're done with guide 2. And then maybe touch back with them if they don't get back to you. Have you finished guide 1 yet? You're going to start one thing at a time, meticulously going through that VIP period with them, but you're not doing it for them, because they're already going to know, I need 2 customers, 2 promoters. equaling 800 in volume. That's how, like, that is their language. That VIP tracker, that is their language. Let's see. Set realistic goals, break it down bite to bite is what I put. Bite to bite, bite-sized pieces. So an example of green, y'all want to know who's green on our team? Can y'all guess who would be green? These are your people who also like planning, organizing, batching. They like have everything planned out, everything written down. So Christina Tammy is a little bit of green. Olivia Carroll is also green. So she said, Amber, I'm a green. My biggest breakthrough has been to stop overthinking and analyzing things. Okay. This is the perfectionist that's trying to know all the answers, right? She said, knowing that everything will work itself out. My blind spot is being afraid of the unknown, because she's trying to know all the answers, right? Uncertainty, because I haven't planned ahead. Right. And so these are the people that you can talk to and you can say, you know what, like, you don't have to know all the answers, right? You don't have to know the comp plan like the back of your hand, and you can coach them in that way. Is that making any sense? Harry's gonna fall asleep on us. Let's see, let's move on to blue real quick, and then we're gonna wrap up red, and then we'll be done here tonight. So blue, do we have any blues on here? Harriet, Karen, do you know what color you are? Do you know what color you are?
I'm half lost.
You're half lost.
Yeah, I don't know the color personalities and all that stuff.
I'm not completely sure. I feel like I'm a red, but I'm never, like, I don't know, you know.
I can be a red, but we don't talk about that.
I think you're a little combination between either red or blue. I'm not sure.
What's blue?
Blue's like the fun.
Ah.
I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so let's go into blue. Tracy, do you know what you are? What color? If you don't, it's fine. But go take a little free quiz. Look, she's shaking her head. Maybe she does now. Go take a free quiz and learn yourself. And you're going to be your top two colors, remember? You're blue? Okay, so let me know if this speaks to you, okay? Because the blue and the reds, these are my hardest people to coach. Like, these are my hardest people to try to figure out. So maybe you can help me along the way too. But blues, okay. I was actually talking to, I don't know if you guys know Carissa much, but she joined, I want to say like November-ish. I don't know. But she joined and she told me from the bat, she was like, I'm not growing a team. She said, I'm not growing a team. I love the product. I'll probably recruit some customers, but she said, my biggest vision is I want to be on stage. I want to inspire women. I want to be like all of these things. Right. And I was just like, okay. Cause I knew that she already had another business, and I was just like, okay. And so there's still times where I find myself where I'm like, where are we going from here? You know? And so, but I kind of give her own space, but she, is a very much a blue. I don't have, maybe Christina Brill, I think might be a blue, but I don't have a lot of examples for blue tonight, but this is what blue is. Blue is very much like charismatic, like they have a lot of character. They bring the fun, they bring the excitement, they love people. They're very much like a social butterfly. They get their energy off of other people. Does that make sense? Versus the yellows and the greens, they won't be alone. Like, you leave me in my sweat. If you cancel plans on me, I'm so excited. Like, I'm in my sweatpants, I'm just chilling. I'm like, yes, I don't have to leave my house. But blues get their energy from people. I have a child that's a blue, and I have a child that's a yellow. So whenever you're talking or thinking about these color combinations or color personalities tonight, I want you to think about maybe your best friend or your spouse or your kids or your coworkers at work. It's not just business, but maybe something like clicks with you and you're like, oh my God, that is that person, right? this is how you're going to learn to kind of like speak their language a little bit. But my Emmy, my little one, she's a blue. She's crazy. She's full of energy. Everything is fun, fun, fun for her. In order to get her to clean her room, I got to make it a game for her. For Kaylin to clean her room because she's a yellow, I'm like, that's going to make mommy so happy if you can clean your room, because I'm not going to step on a toy and it's not going to hurt my feet. Like that is her language. Does that make sense a little bit? Because she prioritizes my feelings as a yellow. And I'm like, mommy doesn't want to step on your toys. It hurts my feet. And she's like, I'm gonna pick them up, mama. And Emmy is like, it's a race. We got to make it a game. You got to make it fun. Okay. So apparently I didn't drink enough water today. They're very compassionate, but like I said, they're a social butterfly. They're very feeling oriented as well. They want to be included. They're very much like the team builders, the camaraderie, the like, what can we do for like a team building activity, or let's get matching shirts, or let's do the reel where we pass the thing from the screen to the other and we're going to show our community. And like that is kind of Tracy, am I right? Like that is very much blue. They want to have fun. They're a wild child. They like to laugh. They love instant gratification. What? That's Jennifer, you think? maybe I'll have to ask her or watch the Zoom. But here's some blind spots for blues. Okay. So blind spots, the first thing that will take a blue out will be their emotions, because they're constantly chasing like that feeling. If they're not motivated in their business, they're not showing up. Does that make sense? If they're having a bad day, if they feel like crap, if they are in a slow season and things aren't moving, they're very driven by movement, right? And so when things get stagnant, they don't know what to do. And they're just like, this isn't fun anymore. Like this, like, not that it's not fun and they don't want to do their business, but they're very much like, I don't know where to go from here, because like the movement inspires me. Like I'm used to like all this fun, and like, how can we get the fun back in the business? And whenever they lose momentum, that is where you got to kind of reel them back in a little bit. They get bored easy in their business. So these are the people that maybe you want to challenge with giveaways or incentives, like, the whoever sells the most trials this week, we are going to do like some kind of giveaway for the team. Like they're motivated by like making it a fun activity, and making it a challenge for them as well. Sometimes they can struggle with clapping for other people because they're so, what's the word? They actually like being the center of attention a little bit. And so they struggle clapping for other people because the attention is not on them, if that makes sense. And it might not be you, that might not be the case for you, but that is something that I wrote down for blues, just kind of in general. They lack discipline sometimes because they're constantly chasing that feeling in their business. And so if they're not motivated or inspired that day, they have a hard time like getting the wheels in motion for their business, because that feeling isn't there. And so that when they feel like that feeling isn't there for their business, they don't really know where to go from that. And so how do we coach a blue? Here we go. You ready? Easily distracted too. Okay, sorry. Never bored if I have books. Sorry, it takes me a minute to read the comments, you guys. But how do we coach a blue? And this is something that for blues and reds can kind of go hand in hand, and it's something that I struggle with a little bit, but they need public recognition. They want to be told that they're doing a good job. Like if you say their name in the chat, like it lights them up. Like they're so excited. Like if you say, oh my God, Jennifer did so good today. She did a live, she did this, like that will probably light her up. And then she's going to feel motivated in her business. And then she'll be able to bring that energy and bring that focus into the next day. And so they like that public recognition. Remember that they don't like being, what's the word? They want to be included in the team. So they never want to be exiled. No one wants to be exiled, but like, I would say probably for all of these colors, let's just draw a line across the board. As a leader, what you want to do is anytime you need to correct someone or correct a behavior or turn the conversation around to like a positive spin on it, or it's kind of like a, what's the word? Like it's not a positive, not necessarily a positive conversation, but you intend to lead them into a positive conversation. Do you get what I'm saying? That is all done privately. Like if they mess up, if they did something, like they brought their negativity into the chat, don't call them out in the chat, right? You call them out privately. You say, hey, can we be very careful with the energy that we're bringing into the chat? That is done privately, but in the chat is where you recognize people. This is where you build people up. And I would say not just for Blues, I would almost do that for everybody. I don't feel like it's a good place in the chat to ever point somebody out and say, hey, you're doing this wrong, or hey, you know, rethink that. I think all of those conversations should be held privately. But Blues like that public recognition. And so whenever they're pushing for a goal, they're going to love things like, it feeds us for sure. Oh my gosh, I love that. They're going to like things like, let's say they're pushing for 4K. If you were their leader and you said, you know, maybe you guys had a goal, you set forth like, okay, we're going to do this month, this, and this is what we're reaching for. And you say something like, I can't wait to celebrate you. I can't wait to celebrate you when you go 4K. I can't wait to celebrate you when you hit that VIP. That is going to inspire them to work their business, right? Because they know that the party's coming. They know that they're going to be celebrated. They know that they're going to get that recognition that they want. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay. It's just kind of what lights them up a little bit. And so they are very incentivized by the getaways, the car bonuses, the conference, like all of these team like things, and kind of the accolades of the business a little bit, because they're very fun loving and they love to be able to present that, right, to their social media. Like, hey, look what we've got. Look what you can do here. Like, it's so fun. It's, you know, all of that. They can kind of go off topic sometimes. And so sometimes you got to reel them back in a little bit and you're like, okay, like let's get back to, we were talking about goal setting, you know, but they might start talking about conference in 2023. And you're like, hold on, we're talking about goals for June. Like, let's get back. Karen's laughing. You got to bring them back a little bit, just very gently bring them back. You got to bring them back to earth a little bit sometimes. They need short-term goals. These are not like necessarily your vision casters per se, but they want like short-term goals. Like, what's my next small win? What's my next small win? So that they can continue to keep celebrating, for lack of better terminology, right? Like they want to keep like those little small wins. So focus on those with them. They love using words like fun. Like, how much fun is it going to be when we go to conference? How much fun is it going to be? I can see me and you on a getaway. Like, this is kind of how we talk to Blues. Like, we got to bring our energy up a little bit. I know, you know, we kind of like set to our default, but like I said, if I'm always yellow to you guys and I'm always talking to you yellow, I'm only going to be speaking to my yellows. And then my reds are going to be like, this is boring, turn the Zoom off. And my blues are going to be like, you know what I mean? So let's go to reds. So Harriet, you're saying you think you're a red. Karen, I think you're probably a little bit of a red. I think you're red blue. I think you're a combination of two, but take a quiz and let me know, because I don't want to like project that on somebody. So let's see, traits for a red. So, okay, doing this quiz, I have some blue too. You think so? Let's see. Traits of a red. Reds are like your natural born leaders. They're full of fire. They've got this like internal passion. Like, they like to win. They're driven by growth. They're driven by recognition as well. They want to cross the finish line. They don't need anybody else helping them. They're going to make it happen. They're going to figure it out. They're going to be resourceful. Like I said, these are kind of similar from the yellow and the red. They actually do like being in charge. They've got this get her done mentality. They're very feisty sometimes, and they're driven by the idea of more. And so it could be more finances. It could be more freedom. It could be more time with their kids. They're just driven by this idea of, I need more. I want more in my life, and I'm going to chase it no matter what. Like, no one's getting in my way. They're very, very driven. These are also your people who are driven by money, title, status, power. They sometimes can find themselves chasing the rank. They can find themselves chasing the title. And then you kind of get caught up in this moment where maybe they reach the title and they're like, okay, now what? So some of the blind spots that hold Reds back is their ego. Because like I said in the beginning, they kind of play their cards to their chest and they're kind of like, okay, this is what I got. And I'm going to do what I need to do to get there. And I'm going to make sure that I win. Right. And so sometimes we got to kind of open them up to the idea of let's love everybody. Let's love on everybody to make sure that we pull them up, that we call them up to their leadership positions, because it's not all about us. Because if you can call these guys up, then you're eventually going to get to where you want to go to. But it's not always solely all about you. Got to kind of check your ego a little bit on these people. Sometimes you can be a very healthy red, or you could be a very unhealthy red. I haven't seen any unhealthy red in our team chat, but tendencies, I'm sure we've seen some in our lives. I'll just say that. Because I've got some elsewhere, just not on our team, right? Let's see. They can sometimes bulldoze people unintentionally. They have little patience. They also, like I said earlier with the yellows, they kind of get into this mentality of like, well, nobody's checking on me. Like I'm showing up for my business. So I don't know why she's not doing hers. I guess she doesn't want it. Like if she needs help, she's going to come to me. She knows like I'm showing up on the Zooms. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Which we got to be careful with, right? Because what if we've got like this green over here who's researching everything and she just needs us to reach out and say, listen, like stop with the research. Like we just got to figure out how to start doing the actual work, right? Or maybe they've got a blue who's like in a lull because like bonus season is gone and they've lost their mojo, right? Got to kind of make sure that we're checking our ego sometimes as reds. Let's see how to coach a red. The first thing I put was challenge them. So they like the giveaways too. They like challenges. They like to be incentivized. So like if you've got a giveaway for an Amazon gift card or a giveaway for credits or, anything like Lavelle gear, they sometimes can be like the flashy ones on your team. Sometimes they like the bags. They like the cars. They like, just kind of like blues. They like to have those things to show off sometimes. And so it's not bad, but that might be a way to kind of incentivize them a little bit. Compliment them and praise them. So make sure that you're telling them they're doing a great job, that you're telling them, hey, I see you being resourceful. I see you finding that answer. I see you on live. Like you're doing awesome, babe. I'm here if you need anything. Don't tell them what to do. Kind of like the green. Don't tell them what to do. You say, this is how you hit your VIPs. If you just follow these guides, like it's going to take you step by step by step. And I'm here to be with you the whole way. Like if you got questions, you let me know. And if they don't say anything, check back maybe a day or two later, say, hey, did you ever watch guide 1? If you've got a true red, they've already watched the guides and they're probably coming to you and saying, all right, I got a customer in mind, right? Let's see, talk results with them, talk income with them, and talk outcomes with them. So some examples of reds on our team are Lindsay, surprise, shocker, and Samantha Russell. Let me see what she said. Oh, for blues, I asked Carissa, I said, what are some things that you've learned? And she said that her biggest breakthroughs as a blue were that she's not very organized. Like sometimes she's got to reel it back in and be like, okay, let's get focused. For reds, Samantha Russell, she said, my breakthrough was patience. I'm a very red person and I had to really take a step back and understand that my team all learns differently and that my strong personality isn't for everyone. So to be able to learn my team individually and how they each learn, my biggest tick is wanting things for people more than they do. And I'm really working through that and taking a breath and not being such a strong leader because I didn't even realize I was micromanaging more than leading. And so sometimes reds can probably get into that scenario where they're just like, hey, why didn't you post today? Or, hey, why didn't you do this? Or I didn't see you on Zoom. I thought you were going to be on Zoom with me. Like we have to just kind of be very careful that we're not micromanaging people, and that we're kind of taking into account what are their tendencies. Like, do they tend to procrastinate? Do they tend to only show up when it's fun, when it's bonus season? Do they find themselves researching all the things and trying to figure everything out to the point where they're not hitting the go live button, or they're not posting, or they're not showing up for their business because they're trying to have every single duck in a row first? And how can we coach them through that? So I hope this was helpful for you guys tonight. I don't want to keep you on here too much longer, but like I said, I do think it's important to know each personality. There can be mixes of each, but you have to be able to speak somebody else's language, right? In order to connect with people more, to grow relationships with people more, especially within your team, right? So next time you see people, maybe they're coming to you with problems, say, how are they coming to me? Are they coming to me red? Are they coming to me yellow? Are they coming to me blue? Are they green right now? And how can I guide them through that? Okay. I love you guys. I will screenshot some of these into the chat so that you guys don't have to sit there and try to take notes and stuff like that. But I love you. I'll see you next week.